Hey guys, as part of my Meet the Attorney series of this podcast, I want to introduce you to my next guest. He's a very influential person in the marketplace. He actually used to be an attorney, and now he's actually speaking on a global level, on stages to attorneys, helping them increase their practices, et cetera, et cetera. So since I do a lot of work with attorneys and I know a lot of attorneys listen to this show, I figured you guys should get influenced by this next individual and how he actually helps other attorneys, and I think he also helps CPAs as well, but we'll get into that in the interview. But without further ado, enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. If you are not getting the results you are looking for from your digital marketing efforts, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's the host of our show, the local business guy himself, Frank Deming.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Deming, the local business guy, and welcome to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses. Happy Wednesday. Happy hump day, everyone. I hope you guys are having a rockin' week thus far. Today, I have the privilege, as I said in the pre-intro, to have a special guest. And when I say special, this guy is really special. I've known him I can't believe it. I've known him now for over 5 years. Met him in a conference, and he was very, very, very impressive to me anyway, because he holds a lot of power in the marketplace for attorneys and other types of influential people who are out there in the business world. And he's a great speaker. Fellas, I want you to join me in introducing my good friend, Itzik Amiel. Itzik, how's it going, man?
Hi, Frank. Thank you very much. Maybe another thing you should tell your audience that we didn't meet in the conference that I was a speaker. I was just an attendee. And that's what I love about it.
That's true.
Because you remember, Frank, we were meeting at only you. We met with, I think, 4 or 5 people. We even have lunch together.
Yeah,
you didn't know shit, famous or known guy or not. Just a normal, nice guy. And then we kept in touch and follow up. But all the rest somewhere disappeared, didn't fit up. And that's exactly example how life works.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. So I was going to ask you, you haven't followed up with all those other
I
people?
follow up with everybody that I thought worth it. In that case, right. In that group, I enjoyed it, but none of them except for you followed up. And that's how people missing opportunities in life. It's just to follow up, you see.
Interesting. So I already enlightened the audience about who you are a little bit, but in your own words, why don't you tell us who are you and what do you do?
Maybe I should start with something that I promised myself to be proud of for the rest of my life. And
sure.
All part of my professional life I was scared of and didn't talk about it. That I love people. How stupid it sounds. You love people. What are you talking about? What kind of a business concept is that? So I think most people realize that when you're intentional in building relationship, and I'm not even going to use the word influential or powerful people, just build relationship with people, the magical thing happened. Because, so many people look at, let's me build relationship with the CEO. And of course, it's hard work and they're not making it. But the thing is, and a lot of people call themselves influential, and the only thing they influence is themselves. Nobody else care about them. But so I'm very much interested in people as people, because you never know. And if you read my book, they have stories even from the cleaning lady. When I used to work for one of the biggest banks, she was just a Nigerian cleaning lady, cleaned the office, and I was speaking to her like a normal human being. At the end of the day, well, all the rest were just ignoring because she's a cleaning lady. What can she do for me in my life, my business? But then, she knew I love people. She knew I love networking. And one day she gave me an envelope for invitation of the Embassy of Nigeria in the Netherlands for a networking event. She said, no, here it is. And I think, of course, had to declare it, of course, in a bank when you get something.
Right.
And then I went there. And just to make the long story short, the Nigerian ambassador, which I didn't know, was a second cousin of her. And with him, I brought the biggest oil and gas company to the bank. Now, nobody in the world can convince me that I talked to the Nigerian lady to get the oil and gas company.
Wow.
But that's the power of networking, that I keep laughing at people that don't get it. It is in every corner, in every place, in every stand, to a cinema, to the airport, to the restaurant, even to the toilet. I mean, another story in India, I was going to a toilet, and for the women listeners, men do the stuff in the wall. So I was standing there in the hotel and doing my stuff, and then in front of me, there was a TV in the wall. So I started laughing, and the guy actually looked at me, the guy next to me, and I said, if I knew there's a TV here, at least I can drink more so I can stand here longer. And he was laughing lightly, and then we went outside, turned to be a CEO of one of the biggest IT companies of India. Now, again, I didn't go to the toilet to pitch on this guy. How many opportunities like that? And I think Helen Keller is the one who said once, when you connect people, let them feel important. Like they carry a badge on the chest and said, let me feel important. And when you look at every human being like that, you'll get magics in your life. So that's where it all starts. That's our relationship starts. And I know we'll stay longer. And maybe the second lesson before you go into the show, the meat, is I always teach people you build relationship for a reason, season, or lifetime. In my world, you build relationship only for lifetime. All these people who come to your life to build relationship for a reason, for interest driven, get them out of your life. You don't need them. And then some people come to your life, those people you met, had a nice time, and then they disappeared. Yeah, maybe they had a role in your life to change something that you think, okay, but you should focus on the people. And I always say, people, look at the people and ask yourself one simple question. Will I be a friend of this person for the rest of my life? If the answer is yes, stay there. If the answer is no, don't walk away from them. That's not polite, right, Frank?
Right. No,
Run away from them.
No, I hear you.
You don't need them in your life.
I hear you. So, it's funny. You said a mouthful there. I want to touch on a couple of things that you talked about there, because I think they're important. Because I don't know if you know this about me, Itzik, but I am an introvert, huge introvert. So I built my business totally online without talking to anyone unless they wanted to talk to me. So my whole premise when I was building my business was, if they don't want to talk to me, why do I want to talk to them about my business? If they're not interested, why even say hello? Like, your story about the guy in India or whatever, how you met him. That's interesting. That's not the way I approach business, because I'm introverted. So what would you say to a person like me? I mean, I know I fixed that so far, by the way. Since then, I'm talking about the old Frank. So I fixed it. But if you're talking to me when I first started my business, what would you tell me?
So that's an awesome question, but I will want to show your audience that you made already 3 mistakes. None. You assume that I'm an extrovert. So here's the story for you. I'm an introvert, or maybe more ambivert than extrovert. You think I'm an extrovert because I could hide it better than you think. I'm better in communication skill. Second, your mindset is wrong. And it's probably most of the audience. And I agree with all of you, learn networking at this sleazy, pushy, salesy art that you have to talk about yourself. You have to pitch about yourself. And people who don't like to do that, afraid of it, don't like it, and avoid it at all costs, like you did. And I think if you change your mind, that's why I hate the word networking, because to me, to explain something else, instead of that, when I used to teach networking, I used to say, okay, today I'm not going to talk about a known tiger. People say, what do you mean? So actually, if you take the word networking, I think the word is an anagram, change the order of the letter, you get a known tiger. A non-tiger is something nobody knows. And then I can put the input on it, you see. Then nobody come with this negative connotation. Oh my God, network. Third lesson, and that's my mistake when I used to teach it. And as a lawyer, as you know, we have to build relationship. It's all about building relationship, networking. So much that in Corona time, a lot of lawyers were scared. Oh my God, my main source of business, the spring of my clients, the networking gone. What do we do now? Yeah. That's what they thought. And the mistake many people make, and I used to envy those people in the middle of the event. Those who everybody gather around them and change business card. And I said, oh, how can I be there? I cannot be this person. I don't know how to engage with all the stuff, and especially when men in the conferences speak always about 3F, finance, football, female. That's men's language. And I didn't know much about those things. I married my first wife. We never liked football at home because I have 4 sisters. And finance, yeah, I'm accountant as a lawyer as well, but yeah, it's boring stuff. So I was always scared of that. I can tell all of you, and you know that. And out of those people that I thought were good at networking were the networking jerks. Because the real business of networking doesn't happen in the middle of the center of the conference of the event. It's in the side way. If you stand in the side, for those people you think shy, for those people you assume, oh, great people, nobody care about them, they're miserable there in the corner, you find the opposite. These are some of the most important people. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want people to pitch on them. They're standing in the side. And I had so much success with that. As a speaker, I can tell you, if you go to the next event when the doors are open to all of you listening, don't buy a diamond ticket. Don't buy a gold ticket. Don't buy a platinum ticket. Get the most simple ticket, sit in the back of the room. Why? Because where do you think the most important people are sitting?
In the back of the room.
Where do you think the speaker that on the stage going to be later on going to sneak in to watch the other speaker speaking now? Where do you think we come? We come from the back. So if you want to meet interesting people to your life, stay in the back. Don't go in the front. The front is people with ego. People who organize even knows that 20% of every audience want to be called VIP. 20% of VIP want to call diamond. And they'll pay more for it just for the ego. They're not going to get anything out of it. What do they get out of it? Just because they're closer to the speaker, they get more business? No. So these are anti-thinking about a lot of people thought about networking. That's why, when I start talking about it on stage and explain, I said, I need to change the concept. And as you know, one of the main things that I always standing behind is the concept of attention, because I believe networking, building relationship, is the art of giving attention,
right?
Not the art of trying to get attention. And here you go, Frank. For introverts who are listening to us, what is easier, to give attention or to get attention? Absolutely give attention, because you need to shut up and listen. Or maybe ask questions and just listen. And who's better in listening? Who better be there? Who's more not going to show themselves introvert or maybe ambivert, definitely not extrovert. And that's what networking is nowadays is the art for introverted. It's a hard work for extrovert to be a listener. They want to talk about themselves. They want to show the story. An introvert don't want to pitch, don't listen, they don't know what to do. And here's the interesting thing I found out. If you will be a good listener, if you will give attention, by the way, in English, you say you pay attention. It's like a monetary thing. Think about it. Right. There's no other thing you can pay with except attention. Why did somebody say you pay with it? Pay with money, not with attention. It's a powerful thing. And if you use it right, then I can tell you don't even have to, and I did so many exercises in real life and event, you don't have to give even your business card. You can go there anonymity, but the other person enjoyed it so much because nobody gave them attention. Most people come to get attention, but somebody was there listening to the story, ask questions, and not giving them. They were, as I say all the time, they magnetize the soul of the other human being. So the other people want to hear from that more. What they will do, they'll try to find you. They'll find any way on LinkedIn and everywhere to find who you are, to try to make another meeting, another appointment to get more of that attention. So you don't even have to pitch yourself on people. They pitch themselves on you. And that's totally the other way of thinking on things. And this is what I believe.
And that's funny because that's the reason why I went online. I went online because I didn't want to be pitching my stuff all the time. I wanted people to come to me because what I said online was interesting to them. So I wanted to eliminate the small talk conversation. But let me ask you something. So you mentioned being a speaker and everything, as we know. So how did you get into speaking? I mean, you was an accountant, you was an attorney. How did you get into the speaking world? That's number one. And number two, I want you to touch on your brand, what's called the Switch, if I believe. And I want you to explain to the audience what is the Switch. So, but first, let's talk about your speaking engagement and all that kind of stuff.
So maybe make a bridge what you just talked about to the new question you're giving me. But one of the things the audience should think about now, and I think one of the biggest obstacles we have, if we're gathering the fact that we need to build relationship on one end, but on the other end, and I assume all the people listening to us are amazing, good in what they're doing. They just need to get more clients, they're to be known. The biggest obstacle they have is obscurity. They are the best kept secret of New Jersey, of New York, wherever they are. Nobody knows about them, wherever they want. And if nobody knows about you, how can you complain you're going to get business? I don't get money. If you don't not known, how can you want people to come to you? So with that have in mind and bridging it to speaking, I understood when I was a young lawyer that by standing in front of audience, I will save myself a lot of time. Why? Because as a lawyer, to get your client, you had to meet people for lunches, to go conferences. And then imagine I had to do 1,000 lunches. How many years it would take me?
Yeah.
Imagine that every day I do one lunch, 1,000 lunches. How many? This 3 years I finish it. And I'm standing 1 hour in front of 1,000 people instead of 1,000 lunches. So I understood it.
Right.
And till these days, this is the thing I also teach my daughters. Speaking is one of the biggest arts you should learn. Not to be a speaker, but to be able to bring in a compact way in front of the right audience, your message, your abilities, what can you help? So if you're not a speaker, you don't have to be a speaker, but you need to learn how to speak, because it's very important nowadays, online, offline. Now, I came to it by coincidence because I worked for a law firm when I was a young lawyer. The owner of the firm was a professor. He was also a professor in academy. I was an international tax lawyer, and he got sick one day, and he was teaching university, and I had no plan. So he asked me if I can go speak. I never spoke, but I know the subject, and I went there. Now, when I studied tax law, I know it was boring. Till these days, I hate boring speakers. And I know that speaking is like being a DJ. What do I mean? If you go to a party and the DJ play your music, and you ask people after the party, can you give me the order of all the songs the DJ play? Who knows what? Maybe they remember one song, but they can tell you he was an amazing DJ. The party was awesome.
Yeah.
See, as Maya Angelou said, doesn't matter what you say, it makes how you make people feel.
Correct.
Speaking in the same way. If you're not able to capture the heart of people, let them think, they will never remember you. So I knew when I had to do this to replace my professor, I had to do something different. So I took Disney movies and all kind of stuff and make it crazy. Now, as a students don't like to be in lessons. They like to do the exams, get the degree, and that's it. So if they can avoid, they avoid, unless it's important or it's fun. And my session was always fun. So university asked me to put the session beginning of the day or at the end of the day, because nobody stayed, and they left.
Gotcha.
And from one university, I started speaking at university. I became the head of Cathedral of Tax Law for Manchester and Derby University. So I came there, and that was beside my work as a lawyer, but I started loving it,
Right.
I could see the opportunity as a young lawyer to get so much business. And I never even realized even the effect I created, because imagine you every year teach 10,000 students. 3, 4, 5 years from now, all the students become lawyers in law firms. And when they had the tax problem, who did they call? The person who teach them tax. That's the only tax lawyer they knew. So the amount of referrals I could imagine, which I didn't know that day, when you spoke 5 years for the future, is unbelievable. So that's another lesson I learned. So that's where I learned the abilities, call it, not to be fearing to speak on stage. But remember, I speak about tax. I was not speaking about the things I speak today.
Yeah.
That's another phase of my career when I sold the company we worked on, we made good money, but I didn't want to go back to this environment of political and all kind of eating environments that I hated the people around. And I wanted to change something that I enjoyed, but I didn't know what, Frank. I didn't know what. I was following so many people that I knew in my network, people that are very known to you as well, and also in the US. And I spoke to a lot of them, very known marketeers and others, but none of them, what they speak, captured me because it does not affiliate to my industry. There are more people who are more skeptical. They don't like those things online necessarily. So I didn't know what to do, but I knew I wanted to get rid of the other things. And I remember, so I got actually a call. It was actually, it happened. I mean, I'll tell you a personal story. I don't share a lot, but I could share with you. My mother died, and in a funeral, there were thousands of people. Now, I'm originally from Israel, and in Israel, we're sitting 7 days Memorial Day. But in the funeral, there were thousands of people. Now, I didn't know all these people. My mother was not a celebrity. So I asked one lady in my mother's funeral, how do you know my mother? She said, I don't know your mother. So I said, so what do you do in a funeral?
Yeah.
So she said to me, your mother was an interesting person. When somebody was sad in a corridor of the office and upset, she will talk to them. She will encourage them. She will help them. And then she went back to her room. The lady said, we didn't know your mother, but we knew that's the lady sits in that room. And when the lady in that room died, they all came to the funeral. And I remember I have 4 sisters, my father, and was sitting there after the funeral. And I said, my mother never knew it in her lifetime. She never knew she influenced so many people.
Wow.
And I said to myself, and I think those audience who listen to us, if you're young, you don't get it. You'll get it when you be older, but that's what we call legacy. In a moment of time, you said, okay, I did everything. I earned money, but it's more than just that. It cannot be the case. It cannot be the end of success. And I felt something strong in me that I need to do something more. that I need to do in my lifetime that I help many people, and not after I left this world, because I don't know what will happen then. But I didn't know what it is. I just didn't know what it is. Nobody taught me what to do. It just captured me. And that's the feeling when I came back to the Netherlands, where I lived, to my family. I knew I have to do. I didn't know what to do. In that time, there was a company, a huge company from Singapore, or Chinese origin, that doing the big conferences with Tony Robbins and other ones. And they're organizing around the world events for entrepreneurs. And they came to do in the Netherlands a big event for about 10,000 entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. And they were told by the president of Singapore, which I knew, the old one, and they told him, hey, if you do it in the Netherlands, you should get Itzik on your stage. And I got a phone call from nowhere and asking, okay, we're coming this and 2 weeks the event, and we would like to have you in the stage. Now, I learned many years ago, opportunity knock on your door once. Now, guess what? Somebody calling you, there's a big event. And this event, you get Les Brown, Tony Robbins, not Tony Robbins, sorry, Al Gore, Richard Branson, Dalai Lama. And then they're asking you. I mean, what would you say?
Wow.
I had nothing. Remember, I didn't have my best-selling book. I had no training courses. I had nothing. I was just international tax lawyer who sold a company with and I'm in the new position in my life. It's okay, sure. And I had 2 weeks to create something. And I created, and then was called The Power of Connection, which was turned to be amazing presentation. So much that Les Brown jumped on stage. And I didn't know Les Brown then, one of the top motivation people in the world. But again, as a lawyer, we don't close to those things. He jumped on stage and he said to the audience, he opened the first day, I opened the second day, and that there was nobody in the world who were more motivated and inspiring than me. And that's where the doors started opening up. So since that day, I started being a speaker. That's a history. I mean, I never studied to speak. I'm authentic as a sound. I speak to you now. That's why I speak on stages. I tell who I am. I tell my stories. And so that's where I started speaking and become a profit center by itself. And later on, I just got the switch and others. But in that time, I had only the speaking. Only 6 months later, I had my best-selling book, The Attention Switch, to the market. And my business started building it up around it. So that's
you speak globally, correct?
Yeah, I spoke till now in about 73 countries.
That's outstanding.
And I speak on being more international audiences. Of course, I'm coming again to a lot of the same countries, but so I've been all over the world, and I'm still doing. I mean, it's not fair to the audience because I was international before speaking. I was international tax lawyer, so my connection was in so many countries around the world. I was always traveling every year. Every month I was in, every 2 months in China, every 2 months in Turkey, every 2 months in Latin America, every 2 months in Russia, every 2 months in Brazil. So every 2 months I was traveling to all those markets. And, those who are listening to us who are employees, that's the best time to build yourself because your employer will pay your marketing. If you are just going to be independent, start traveling what I did, impossible. Any one trip to India, for example, I was going every 2 months. Any one trip could cost me $5,000, $6,000, even more. With a hotel and everything. Imagine every 2 months, the budget that you need as a new entrepreneur, you cannot. So I built a very big name on global expansion. As a lawyer, I help a lot of entrepreneurs expanding their business internationally. So, by the way, Frank, those who listen to us who have these issues, that they know they have amazing product and they want to grow in different market, definitely via Frank, you can be in touch and we can help you grow it internationally.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Exactly what I used to do. And because I think a lot of people have amazing product, but as I said, they don't know how to do it internationally. And it is easier when you did it so many times to small, medium, big company, multinational. So till these days, I have multinational calling me to help them because I have the connections. So that's where it started. I just mingle all of it, make out of it a business for myself.
No, that's great. That's an awesome story. Thanks for sharing that. It's amazing. So the switch. Why the switch? What is that? Is that an acronym? Does it mean something? Or
it's nice because remember the book was called The Attention Switch because I think I wanted people to learn to switch from giving and trying to get attention to giving attention. So that's where it all started for me.
Okay.
I think I heard in one of the seminar they taught how to write a book or something, and then somebody asked, wanted to show the audience how can you come up with the name of a book. So I think somebody said, I want to write about wealth. So the person said, okay, what about the wealth switch? And that's where the switch came to my head. And I took it to attention. Now, the switch became my little empire because during the time, of course, you start reading about it, to start connecting. And then I found out, for example, if you know electronics, you know, there is a switch hub. In a network, computer network, all the computer network connect to a switch hub. Perfectly good, because I speak about networking, people networking. So the switch hub is where all the connections are. So I'm a power connector. Sounds good.
Yeah, I like
of course, I
like
created all kind of acronym to switch as well, but that's afterwards for different product.
Mm-hmm.
But another thing which I found, which I think the most interesting thing for me is a lot of people talking nowadays about change.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people fearing change, don't want change, you know, especially again for my professional world, a lot of firms do not want to change. I mean, don't change me. And I understand them because change takes time. You need time for change.
Yeah.
And guess what? I will say in my language, we have ants in my pens. I don't know what I have. I don't have 20 years. Mm-hmm. I just don't have 20 years. I don't believe. So here's where I found out that I loved it. Scientists in Germany found out that the brain, inside our brain, there is literally a switch, like an on-off button, that you in charge to wake it up, open it on, or turn it off.
Right.
Now, I ask you, Frank, I ask the people listening to us, how long does it take to switch your on-off button at home?
Half a second.
Exactly. So if I'll teach you the trick, how to become from introvert to extrovert in 3 seconds, everybody wants. If I teach you, you don't need 20 years to change. I teach you right away, you can have a different mindset to the success. I tell you one practical advice, you even think you switch, but you just switch. That's the power of it. So I don't want 20 years. I don't need to change nobody. Stay who you are. I switch you for the 5 minutes we need to turn and go back to your routine.
You know, funny, it's like now you're saying that, I wish I would have met you in 2007 when I decided to quote unquote switch from regular working for a corporation into working for myself. That's when I started my business in 2007. But it took me 4 years to truly trust myself and quit corporate America, because I was working both. I was doing my regular job and the business. And it took 4 years, but I was scared. But what for me, what needed to switch was I had the quintessential employee mindset that was embedded in me since childhood. You know, you got to get good grades in school so you can get a really good job and you can pay your bills. That was my message from my parents. So that was all in there. And no one in my family has ever been an entrepreneur. And there's no one in my family before me has owned their own business. So the switch for me was hugely long. And I didn't want to make a mistake. I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to say, well, I got to go back to corporate America to work. And it was a very, very long process for me. So,
but the process of thinking took you a long time. The switch itself, what took you a split of a second. The moment you decide whatever happened, it took you a split of a second. The process also took me 22 years to understand. But that's an internal process of all the shit we have in our mind that we collapse in childhood. But it's not the change. The change is sometimes happen without rationalistic thing. Is unconscious behavior. You know, like many people listening to us are in the same situation, Frank. They're still working for a firm or company and say, okay, I want to start my own. When will it come? See, I give you a solution. You know where you have to change and do your own? When you hear that.
When you hear,
hello, my son, this is the time to switch. There will not be any voice from God coming to you telling you that. Don't bullshit yourself. There will not be any voice coming to you from the sky. You just have to fucking switch and change yourself right now, right away. Don't wait for nothing. There's no way to wait for that voice. Everybody's waiting for you, you know. It's like asking me, how did you fall in love with your wife? I mean, yeah, it was this voice telling me, what happened? Just, you know, that's unconscious behavior that we all having it internally. Wake it up. And it happened. Now, the problem is not the switch. The problem, what happened after you switch. Okay. If you don't know consciously what you want to do, you know, you want to get rid of that because that's something. And it's okay, I'm changing. And then you sit at home and don't know what to do. That's a big problem.
Yeah.
So spend a lot of time what you want to do, how you want to do it, as long as you could. Because the switch is a split of a second. You decide, okay, I'm going from home. Boom. You know where you're going? It's like buying every product. Frank, you know it yourself. You wanted to buy this new Apple. You look at it, it's very expensive. In the end, you bought it. How long does it take you to make the decision to buy it, the switch, to buy a new computer? It's a split of a second.
Yeah,
Push a
just put it
button,
aside.
gone,
Yeah,
done. And the day after, you forgot about how much you spend on it.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe you thought about it 3, 4, or 5 months. That's not the switch. The switch is the split second you're doing, you take the action. That's the moment you change your mind. And that's everybody will do. If you don't do it, somebody else will do it for you.
Yeah.
And
Well,
somebody
that's
else will
good.
switch it off for you.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's a huge distinction of what I was talking about. But yes, that's true. That's true. I hope everyone captured that, because that what he just gave you is a gold mine. And obviously before we end this, we want to have all of your links in the show notes so people can get a hold of you. But let me ask you something.
Sure.
You still work globally. What is your target market? Like, who do you want to connect with? I want to see if I can help you. You've helped me so much since I've known you. I want to see if I can help you connect with people. Who do you want to meet? Who are your ideal people?
So that's very kind of nice of you, Frank, because, I was actually in the past was struggling with it because, I was the kind of person I want to help everybody. And and I know that's impossible, not because you want it and not because even the time, because it's impossible to help everybody. So you need to be very concentrated. Correct. So for a while, I used to help entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur per se wanted to grow the business in different industries. The problem there was that I believe in order to help people, they be able to look at you equal to you. Right. You cannot look up to them and you cannot look down to them. If you don't look eye to eye, and a lot of people, not because of me, because of themselves, because they think, oh my God, this guy's a speaker, he's an amazing guy. They're looking by themselves down up to you. Yep. And I hated it. And, it's a mindset that people have to change. And that's a problem with a lot of people in firm and companies. That's the problem. I think the boss is the owner of the firm. I have to look down up to them. No, absolutely not. They're human beings exactly like you. If they don't appreciate you and don't look at the other eyes, get the hell out of there. You're wasting your time. Right. I mean, a good leader, a good entrepreneur I always said successful people are very approachable people. That's a mistake many people make. If somebody you cannot approach because they say they are too busy, they have 17 guards around them or whatever, that's probably small people who want you to think they are big. Big people, it's so easy to find them that you'll be so shocked. I mean, how could I talk to Richard Branson? I mean, how can you talk to this guy in the elevator? Because people are having the time. You just not position yourself in the right place. If you go to them in the middle of the night, they wake them up, they'll be annoyed. Or if you're talking to them in the middle of a business meeting, of course they don't have time for you. But in between, if you know where to stand. So I'll give you an example. I wanted to talk to a very famous lady in Canada. Mm-hmm. Now, I could not reach her, but I wanted to talk to her. That's the time when I was a lawyer. Mm-hmm. So what will you do? I traveled to Canada. It was Toronto. I found out where she's going every morning from her secretary to get a coffee. It was a Starbucks in one of the corners there. Mm-hmm. I woke up in the morning. I went to the Starbucks earlier. I went to the manager. I said, listen, there's a lady coming here to buy coffee. When she comes to get a coffee, I want you to give her this present for me. And I'm sitting on the side, so don't worry. And I was sitting on the side. And she, of course, arrived, standing in line. The turn comes. The guy looked at me, said, yes, exactly it. And he gave it to her. And she was looking around, what's going on there? And the split second we connected. Now it's the time. The show started now. Now it's the time to be authentic. Now it's the time to tell the truth. And since then, I'm a good friend of this lady. And we did so many things together. But what will you do to connect with the right people? And you all say they're busy, whatever.
So what I'm hearing is you got to be, creative, and you got to be bold.
And you have to be authentic. Maybe as Shirley, not committed to manipulate. So I came just to make sure your audience understand, to give her something, not take from her something.
Yeah.
I wanted to introduce her to a big client who wanted to help the service of her. And I could not reach her. So I actually care about my clients.
Right.
And I know she is the expert. So I will connect. Who will do that? Most people will go to meet her to connect with them, to give something for them.
But that was the creativity, is what I'm saying. So that was
you have to be creative because it's fun, networking, connecting with is fun. Yeah, it has to be fun. It has to be crazy, because if you do the same thing, and again, to do that, Frank, again, for the people listening to us, is easier than you think. I'll give you an example. I give it on stages around the world. Maybe 2 people till this day implemented on me. What do I mean? The easiest thing to stand out in our days is not to send email to people. You want to meet people? You want to know people? Send them a postcard. how easy it is to write a postcard. So if you're living in New York, New Jersey, go to the store, buy a nice postcard, send it to the person. Why? And by the way, if you're sending it to a man, put it in a pink envelope so somebody will open it at home. But guess what? You know, and I know, if it's a senior person, executive, CEO of a company sitting there, that's, by the way, advice I'm giving also lawyers to do. Stop sending this newsletter, the bullshit stuff that people don't read. They don't have no time. Send this postcard, handwritten postcard. How easy it is. Because it will land for sure on the desk of the CEO. It will land for sure more than that, because there are several that just get a little bit post. You're not getting so much post. Most of it's by email or whatever. So she will probably open it with their own hands, and they're probably going to read it. And I promise, if you do that, you're going to get a response as well. And then people are shocked all the time. I see it, definitely in the US, you see people writing to whatever, the president or the White House, little kids, and then you see it going viral online. I mean, and I said, why are you shocked? I mean, probably President Biden don't get a lot of posts. And if they get the post, you know, nobody knows how old is the kid who put it in the envelope. Maybe the parents put it. Who knows? But somebody's reading it, of course, but it come across to the person and then reacting to it. And that's how sincere you have to be. And it's easier than you think, but most people don't take the efforts to do it. That's what it is. It's just to do it. And I think that's what they're missing. It's not only the creativity. I can be creative. I can give 1,000 ideas to the audience. Question, who's going to do it? Creativity is enough. And Frank, they even more than that. There are even companies nowadays who will do it for you.
That's interesting. So another question for you before we wrap things up, Itzik. What, in your opinion, as you know, this is a digital show. So in your opinion, can you promote personal branding, you being such a influential person, people who know, you know, let's say, all right, let me change the question a little bit. You're influential. Let's say a person who's not influential and they want to do personal branding. Can they do personal branding on the internet? Or do you think it has to be your style, your way of doing it? What's your take on that?
Sure. I mean, first, I didn't answer yet the other question, but I'll come to it afterwards. But I mean, the answer to the personal branding is, and again, the starting point is wrong, because if you ask the audience or listening to us who has a personal brand, and we'll stop a second and ask them, who has a personal brand now? And I hear people saying, I may have. Some people say, no, I don't have. Some people say, oh, I want to have. But how many of them sure they have it? And the answer is all of them, including you and me. We all have personal brand if you want it or not. Jeff Bezos once said,
of course,
personal brand is what people say behind you when you leave the room.
That's right.
People say something about you. Now, you know, in the middle of every person, there's the character. The character is this thing you got from home, from cultural, from religion, from behavior, from education and parents, whatever. It's hard to change, okay? Around that, see a circle called the personal branding. That's what people see of you. They don't tell you, they tell others, but you don't even know. So which means they decided before they even met you, they don't want to work with you. So you will never know that. And around that is another circle called personal reputation. And this is the thinking, the think and write about you. And that's something you could overcome by, you know, there are companies who are doing for us reputation management. And as you know, because you work digitally, if somebody wrote bad news about you, they take this bad news and bury it. That's why I say, people, if you want to know people, go to page 26 in Google, because that's what you find is bad news. So don't look at first 1 or 2. That's what they want you to find about them. So personal reputation can work. Personal branding is in your hand to shape. So you have to know what people think about you when you leave the room. What did they say about you now? If it's things you wanted to be said, awesome, great. But if it's not, you need to shape it. And to shape it, you need to learn first what is your, I call it the 3D, because I develop a mechanism to teach it. And I help a lot of people. This is, by the way, what I do for a lot of people. I help them build a personal brand and implement it for them. So it's the discover, which is the hardest part from all the 3 steps. It's how to discover your distant point of view. Because if you don't know what is distant point of view, you would not able to change your personal brand. Right. And when you know that, the second 2 other steps are just tools. Is how do you define and design? So you're defining it, what we call the personal branding statement, and designing, just going out in the right channels in front of the right audience to build that in front of them on a regular basis. So every person should work on personal brand. Those who have a companies or firm and afraid of that, I can tell you loudly and clear, personal branding nowadays is more important than corporate brand. If you don't believe me, think about 10 people that you like very much, your friends. Do you know the first name? Probably yes. Do you know the last name? Probably yes. Do you know where they work now?
Yes.
And most of you lost track on that. Some of them, I'm not sure. Maybe moved to another company, not sure. But you're sure about the first name and the personal name for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So that's how powerful it is. Personal brand goes with corporate brand. So a lot of people scared in my industry to work a personal brand with their employees or let employees work on a personal brand because they thought, oh my God, if this person will start building the personal brand and we're going to be known in the market, our competitors will find them and will attract them to go to there. Right. Now nobody knows about them. So absolutely not the case. When you build a personal brand, when you allow it, of course, there are rules to the game. People become more loyal, they stay longer, be more proactive, et cetera, et cetera. And of course, your brand as a corporate will grow as well because they work for you. They don't work for another company. So with all my heart, I think it's one of the most important things to go out of the problem we mentioned before, Frank, the obscurity. To stand out of the crowd, not to be unknown, not to be the best kept secret of your market, is to learn to stand out. It's not to be a snobbish. It's not to be a person celebrity. Not at all. I mean, there are people, when I teach personal branding, I give example of a person named, I don't know if you know, and most of the audience probably do not know, Anton Corbijn.
No.
If I say the name, you don't know. If I say the name Madonna, all of you know. Because he's a celebrity, right?
Yeah.
If you say Anton Corbijn, most of you do not know. Maybe all of you do not know. Why? And this person is #1 photographer in the world who get millions and millions of dollars to take photos of who? Of a rock and roll band, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, Nirvana, U2. So if you are one of those rock and roll band, you should know this guy. But I guess your audience are not rock and roll band. That's why you do not know. That's how you build an authority, a personal brand. You don't have to be a celebrity. It's totally a different thing. So it's not all with people calling it influential and that's running by money. It's really if you have a service and you want to help people and you know you come from a good point of view that you really want to help people, carry that on your shoulder. You are a very selfish human being if you're not standing out. Why? Because if you have a gift and you don't go share it with the world, you're selfish. You keep it for yourself. You didn't get the gift in the world and abilities and amazing service to keep it for yourself.
I like that.
That's why, awesome. And that's the burden you have to wake up every morning. You need to shine out. It's your time because there's so many people. Imagine if you do that, people will change their life. Now, if you're a good person, you cannot sleep at night. If you're a bad person, it won't do anything for you. But if you really come from that point of view, and not everything that I teach, and now I'll give you another example before I let you back, is the biggest another problem when you build relationship is the follow-up. We talked about it in the beginning, right? We followed up, the rest.
Yes.
Now, most of the people know that the business is the follow-up. Because every person you meet, 2% of them have business to you when you meet them. 98% of the people have business not now, maybe in the 3 to 5 years from now. So how long will you follow up? Now, follow up, why people are failing in follow-up? The same reason I said to you before about personal branding. Yeah. Because if I ask you a question and the audience as well, if you had a pill and the pill can cure this person that is very sick, 100% guarantee you cure them from the illness they have. How many times you as a good person will call the other person to take your medicine?
Yeah, I mean, you do it right away.
Yeah, and how many times? You will never stop. You probably call them every day, all the time, every time, because you want them to be healthy. Now, they may tell you know what, get the hell of my life. I don't want your medicine. I want to die. At that moment, you're never going to stop, right? So why do you stop following up? Because your mindset is wrong again, because you don't believe that your service that you have now is like this medicine. You don't believe it can really helpful to the other people. If you don't believe, that's why you feel pushy and nudgy and salesy. Yeah. But if you believe, my God, you have to take my service, it will help you now. You call them every day without being filthy and pushy and nudgy because you want to help. And that's a mindset. There's no more than that. Most people don't have this mindset.
Yeah. If you have, I've heard that example with cancer. If you have to cure the cancer, you're gonna be pushing down the White House door every day until you get to the president.
And everybody knows that. Unfortunately, we know that. But unfortunately, we know that only when we're in such situation. People will tell you, I don't have money. What would you do if your child is, as you said, get sick on cancer and you need to get the best doctor in the world and you know the best doctor in the world can help them? It costs $1 million. Each one of the people listening to us will do everything in the world to get the $1 million. So don't tell me you don't have
money.
money. You don't even think it's important enough to do it. It's just a mindset like everything else.
Yeah, man.
And as well as Les
that's
Brown
pretty
said, you have
powerful.
to be eager to be
You
successful.
gotta be eager.
You have to be hungry to be successful. That's his word. You have to be hungry, right?
Yeah.
And most of the people are comfortable. You get enough money to survive. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's
But
why
the
you're
thing
not
is
hungry.
also the why. Your why has to be strong. The reason why you want to do this has to be strong. If it's not strong, you're gonna go right back to corporate America or wherever wherever you work. You're gonna go
But a
right
lot of
back.
people have the why. I don't think it's just the why, because the why is great to start, but it's not enough. So people have a why because they come from the slums and they want to give justice to the world. That's why they become a lawyer, or they're living somewhere and they don't want to live the thing that their friends, or they wanted whatever. But they don't have a plan how to get to do that, and why, it's just nice, but it's like hope is not strategy. It's great to be hopeful, but it's not a strategy to build a business on.
So I'm curious about something. What's your take on coaching? Because I think what helped me, I know what helped me. As I said, I come from a family that does not have entrepreneurs. So I had to really push myself. And what really helped me was coaching. I without business coaching, I don't think I would be here talking to you today, running this podcast. So what's your take on that? I'm just curious.
So it's funny because we're coming back to a language, and I will tell you my take on it, and then I don't want to scare your audience, but I never had a coach, and I don't want to have a coach.
No.
And I don't even call myself a coach. I call myself a mentor. And why is that? Because it's like, if you ask the audience, you have money, you want to invest your money. Would you go to a banker and ask a banker how to invest your money? Think for a second. Most people do not know, say yes, say no if I ask the question. But think a second, why should I go to a banker and ask them how to invest the money? The banker is getting a salary from a bank. If the banker really know how to invest the money, they become billionaire themselves, but they don't know. So how can I ask somebody who doesn't know how to do it? I better go ask Warren Buffett, ask him how to invest some money. He will tell me. I'll copy paste. That's why always I believe, because where I'm coming from, in the industry I was, in the professional industry, there's a lot of consultants coming and coaches, but they never been a partner of the firm. They never did what you want to do. How the hell did they tell me what to do? Yeah, they can ask me questions. I can also ask myself questions. So I think when I call myself mentor, I'm meant by two things. First, so when you probably talk about coaching, you talk about the same thing. You need first accountability partner, somebody can talk and give you ideas, etc., out of experience, out of things that works, not out of guessing. Second, it has to be somebody who will help you even to implement. So it's not enough just to ask the question, because you'll be stuck. And why? I mean, if I solved something, why should I let you suffer? I mean, I'll tell you, hey, you want to bake this cake? Here's the recipe. Take step 1, 2, and 3. Right. And then you do it. When you're doing it, when you be successful, not go improve it. This is, by the way, you asked me for what is the switch. So the switch is one of the biggest membership site and training for the human-centered skills, I call it. And exactly giving 4 deliveries every month to a lot of entrepreneurs and lawyers and accountants how to build the practice. And I'm giving every single month and the first of every month, and you were my guest in the last month, Frank, a masterclass with an expert on one specific subject. And sometimes I do it myself when I'm an expert on the subject. Then the second week of every month, they're getting a practice how to, exactly what I just told you now, this recipe of I call it cheesecake, because I love cheesecake, but exactly how to implement specific strategies. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. Not guessing, not how, not asking them questions. Give them what to do. And just follow the thing and you're successful. The third week of every month, I'm giving them a delivery called Your Next Referral, because a lot of those things build on referrals. It's 10, 15-minute screencast, which when you hear me, you see the slide, you don't see me. And then it's about referrals, so how you get referral, what do you write, exactly the templates, exactly the timing. So just copy paste. Don't be brilliant. I did it thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of times, and it works. Just copy paste. And the last week of every month is the live Q&A. And the members can ask questions. I ask. I give some more clarification. So that's where the switch is, and that's accessible to all the members. And this is because I want first to learn by themselves. The second level of my business is what I call mentoring. You just asked me. So that's the second level, when I spend an hour every 2 weeks with people who want to do it with me. So I'm the accountability partner, Instead of they learning by themselves, we implement it together.
Right.
And the third level of my business, and that started 5 years ago, because I found out a lot of the members willing to pay the money, but they do nothing with it. They're busy or lazy. So I started doing done for you services. So instead of teaching it, instead of mentoring them, I'm doing it for them. So we talk about building relationship. I'll take the LinkedIn profile of them. I build the authority there, and I start connecting them with international people they want to learn to know. I will nurture this relationship. The other people think they're doing it, but I'm behind it. I'm writing, I'm creating the value. Everything that I teach, I do it for me, for them. And then till the other people wants to meet with them, and then they have to talk to each other. Of course,
Wow, I did not know that. That's awesome. So tell me, I definitely want to connect with you on that, because I was always taught that it's very difficult to writing someone else's voice, but I'm sure because you're well versed in all that stuff. So,
and again, there are many tools for that. You're right. There are many tools for it. And I also learned during time, because I remember I did once for years ago for a German lawyer. And this person, is very dry German, and me with my enthusiasm, and because it didn't match, and I figured out when he started connecting with the people are connected to, they think, what's going on over here?
Who is
Although these guys are enthusiastic. So you have to learn. That's exactly why I told you in the beginning that I'm involved in each of my client business, because exactly, it has to be authentic voice. It has to match the personality. It has to really give value to the other people, which is the hardest part. How do you give value to people you do not know? And most people killing the conversation, because what they do, okay, if you have something for me, remember me. And that's the end of the conversation. You need to always evolving, find another excuse to talk to them, because they don't have business for you when you meet them, right? This is follow up.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's awesome. So I am going to have every single way of someone could connect with you, Itzik. I have your websites. I'm going to put your LinkedIn profile here in the show notes, because I really think that you have a product that adds a lot of value to a lot of people. That especially if you're an attorney or an accountant, you definitely got to connect with Itzik, because he's the man when it comes to all that stuff. But before I let you go, I want to ask you one last question. Is there anything that I did not ask you that you think will benefit the audience?
That's a very good one. But I mean, one question that I didn't answer, I think, and I was embarrassed to share it again in all my professional life, is I said to you in the beginning that I love people. What is that, So a little story that actually started the whole thing of it. And that's, you ask about the big why. That's my big why.
Yeah.
And my best-selling book started with it. The first story in my book called The Hug of My Life. And the story from 1992, February 1992. I used that time lived in Israel. I used to work for a law firm in Tel Aviv and live in Jerusalem. Sorry, the opposite. I work law firm in Tel Aviv. I'm originally from Jerusalem. But I would go a few times a week to sneak out, because my girlfriend, my wife now, was living in Jerusalem as well. And I would go stay with her. She was an au pair. She was a ballerina. I came to Israel from the Netherlands to be 1 year in au pair. So I would come meet her there. And then in the morning I get up. And if you were there with me, we'll have a coffee, croissant, and I'll go get the bus from her house to the central station in Jerusalem, and from there to Tel Aviv to the work. So, and then that day, the 23rd of February, 1992, I woke up on a normal day. I had my coffee, I had the stuff, and I was about to go get the bus. My girlfriend hugged me, and I ran to the bus, and I missed the bus. And, in the morning, it's always the same routine. The same people sit in the same places. And I was annoyed, I remember, because, you have to wait another 10 minutes for the next bus. And then the next bus came, and then we went away to the central station in Jerusalem. And in the 90s was a lot of incidents in Israel. So there were police in the way, blocked the road, and the bus has to go from a different way. And we all were curious. So we asked the bus driver if he can open the radio, because what's going on. And he opened the radio, and we all learned that the bus I was taking every day exploded from a terrorist attack, and everybody died.
Whoa.
And I never shared the story as a lawyer, because I never wanted the mercy. But that's the day that my love for people, love of life started, because I understood that there was one thing between me and death. This is the little hug. This little act of giving attention that my girlfriend gave me that changed my life. And from that day, when I do a big conference, when I speak, I made all the audience in split of a second hug each other. And think about it for a second, because we do a lot of virtual thing. But if you think about it, the last time you hugged somebody, and maybe it will be a long time since we could do it again with all this corona. But when you did with a stranger you didn't know, you didn't say a word to them, you didn't picture them, nothing. But you give them all the heart and the warmth that you really care about them, and you give them a hug.
Yeah.
I guarantee if you do that, you'll transfer a message to go indirectly to the heart of the human being, and you felt bonded. And I did it so many times that we even follow with cameras of some of my events. After me, there was a coffee break, and naturally, people went directly to speak to the person they just hugged. I just connect them in a split of a second without pitching, without talking. And that's the power of authenticity. If you don't experience it, I can talk all the day about authenticity. There's a lot of people talk about this word nowadays. It's so manipulated. But when you feel it, you'll shiver. And that's why I learned it so many years ago. Everything that I did in my career was based on that. I love people from the bottom of my heart. Clients felt it. I even was accused in a bank that I was too client-centric. I was too protecting the client, which is, of course, I'm laughing nowadays, but that's why I was accusing my evaluation. Right. So there was never change. I mean, sometimes people tell me, oh, you're a director, you cannot be too emotional. Go explain to them that I was the same Itzik going to the army, officer in Israeli army, the same emotional guy, that people are willing to give the life and death for me because I give a shit about them. Yeah. Now it's a big deal to talk about it nowadays because everybody woke up after Corona. That's the secret of life. And this you cannot fake, Frank. This you really cannot fake. These people feel and see and hear. And that's a secret. And this I cannot teach. There's two things I cannot teach: how to be authentic and how to be eager. If you don't have these components, work on them. Because if you do that, that's the secrets of life. Yeah. Well, that's the thing you didn't ask me. And I give this story to people. So I don't know why some people do not know me, and know I'm coming now from the Netherlands. They think all my energies are from magical mushrooms or something. No. It's based on real, authentic people because I really care. I love people.
That's an amazing story. I know it's very personal. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm hoping that anyone who is listening to this right now take the lesson from that, because that's what life's all about. All of this stuff, you can have business and all that, but little things like that in life can impact anyone, and it should have an impact on you. So yeah, thanks for sharing.
And maybe in other senses, Frank, I don't say God forbid that all of you should experience bad things in life. No. Could realize of it. But wake up when you have fun, when you're enjoying, when you have a job, and ask yourself, who are my friends? Who are the people who will be there for me? Because when the time comes, when you be in trouble, when you be sad, and you look around the world, nobody around you, that's too late. Figure out who are the people around you when you're happy and happy. That's the whole idea behind building relationship. It's not just business. As you know, I wish it was just business, but Harvard University did for 75 years of research. They follow up the alumni. It's the longest research Harvard did ever. They find out what makes people successful and happy in their life at the end of the day. They all study Harvard, all were successful. What happened? And they found out, and I recommend all of you to watch the TED Talk with Robert Dellinger, the last director of this program, who published the results. And what they found out very, very short, the attention to good relationship keep you happier, healthier, and successful. That's the secret of life. Exactly what I found in my book. So that was phenomenal for me to see it, that they found it after 75 years, but that's exactly it. The art of learning to give attention, because everybody else trying to get attention. All marketing based on trying to get attention. The things that happen in business, Frank knows it very well, in digital marketing, etc., does not happen on your likes, on the post. It happened behind the scenes, behind the messaging, talking. Even Frank, when do podcast, knows the things that happen is not in the podcast. It's what happened before when we close the microphone and after when we follow up. That's the power.
That's the power. Yep.
And if you know that, you'll be successful.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot. That was the lesson. And again, and to the audience, listen, that this is I know it's a little different from what I normally talk about on the show, but this is a very impactful show. I encourage you to definitely share this episode with someone. They'll definitely be touched. Download it, share it. Make sure you subscribe, because whenever I bring content like this, I want a lot of people to listen to it. So with that, I wish you guys nothing but the very best. I'm going to bid farewell to this episode until next week. This has been Frank Deming, the local business guy. You've just been blessed by the great Itzik Amiel. Take care, everyone. Until next week. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Marketing Solutions for Local Businesses, the podcast where you will discover all the latest and greatest digital marketing tools, tips, and strategies you will need to implement in order to stay ahead of your competition. Don't forget, any links that were mentioned during the broadcast will be available to you in the show notes, so be sure to grab them while you have the chance. Incidentally, if you have any topics that you would like for us to discuss on the show, be sure to send an email to the email provided in the show notes, or click the Contact Us link and let us know what topic you would like us to help you with, and we'll be sure to add it to our schedule. If you would like for Frank and his team to look at your digital marketing presence and give you a free evaluation, simply click the Request a Free Consultation link in the show notes to get a hold of them. That being said, until our next episode, make it a successful digital marketing day. Peace out.